What's better than earning money from a 9-to-5 job? It's earning money while you sleep, which is made possible if you start investing. You're listening to the Real Estate Investing Demystified with your very own dynamic duo, Ava Benisaki and August Biniaz. Tune in as we discuss everything real estate, both on the passive and active sides. We feature life-changing stories of today's real estate leaders that will help build your own roadmap to success. This is a show that will lead you to a diversified portfolio, a much bigger revenue, and a next-level venture that brings you a smooth cash flow. Let's get this episode started.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. You know, we had definitely, obviously, you can see that I have a different co-host today. My regular co-host, Ava Benisaki, has been replaced by my good friend, Slav, and a good friend of the CPI Capital team as well. Yeah. So, I mean, we have a special guest today on, and we're going to be talking about somewhat of a complex world of trading and options and futures. So I thought maybe it's best to bring my good friend who's somewhat versed in this space as well to just discuss it and have an interview with my good friend. And we're going to tell you about my friend, but I have my good friend Fari, who's I met in Naples, Florida, and we spent a lot of time together. Enjoyed the stories that he shares about his time in Iran and moving to the US and building, military planes and in the trading world. So excited to have him on the show. And we have Slav, so he's going to be co-hosting and go from there.
Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Yes. No, thanks for taking the time.
Actually, I met you guys at the same time. Very first time.
Yeah. That's right. No.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. We were there. But yeah, why don't you tell our audience a bit about our guest today, Slav, and then we'll go from there.
Today, sounds good. Thanks, August. Today we're joined by Fari Hamzei. Fari Hamzei is a frequently quoted by Benzinga, Stocks and Jocks, CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business, and Real Money. He's published a book. His book is Master Traders: Strategies for Superior Returns from Today's Top Traders. It was published by John Wiley & Sons in October 2006. He's well known for Per Timer Digest issue number 704, dated January 20th, 2021. Fari was ranked number one for the last 3, 5, 8, and 10 years, effectively named the stock market timer of the decade. Fari is a graduate of Princeton University with a bachelor's degree in financial engineering and studied equity and debt derivatives under financial pioneers Jack Shelton, Ed Thorpe, Richard Roll, Bob Gasquet at the UCLA Anderson Graduate School of Management. He was a director of strategic planning at Northrop Grumman Corporation's aircraft group. And Fari is the founder of HamzeAnalytics.com.
And we'll share more information about Fari in the show notes. But welcome to the show, Fari.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, in our conversations, I've really enjoyed to the stories that you brought up, particularly about your father and yourself, moved to the US, kind of being involved in building some of the stealth airplanes, which there is a level of confidentiality and non-disclosure that you have, obviously, for obvious reasons. But talk to us a little bit about your background, from Iran, making the move to the US, what your dad did. You came here well before the 1979 revolution. Most of the Iranian diaspora. Most of the Iranian diaspora in the U.S. came right around the revolution time, but you were in 74, so well before that. So the plans was to come to the West prior to that. So talk to us.
71, yeah. But I have to start really quickly and briefly about my dad, because without him I would not be here. He came from a very interesting father. My grandpa had 9 wives. He was in real estate. There's a relationship. I would ask him, Grandpa, what did you do this for? He goes, well, because he was a Moshaver Amlok. So he was doing a brokerage, but going from city to city, sometimes he would find a good property, he would buy it himself. He said, I will buy the property, put a woman there. This way, when I come to visit, I don't have to go hotel. But there were different cities in Iran. So, long story. My dad was from
similar model to Tiger Woods, right? Didn't he have like wives?
No comment on that.
Keep going.
He was the second wife, and she was not educated. And he was back in Iran. Literacy was very high. Talk about 1920s. He was born late 1920s. Anyhow, so she, however, she could manage to raise him. let me close these. He knew that's not gonna work as he was going up. So he said, look, I gotta pull myself up from bootstraps and went and joined the Air Force High School that would feed into the Air Force Academy. He was the captain of the soccer team. He goes to Air Force Academy and things are getting worse in Iran. So he needs to do his best. 2 years later, he graduates as valedictorian of Air Force Academy. Shah gives him a compass set. I have it in my dining room. I keep it separate in a china cabinet. He gave it to me the day I got my acceptance too. And he said, I want you to put it on your desk. I want you to remember that. Well, I'm cheating. It's not here, but usually it's been. It's always on my desk. As a reminder of the shoes I can never fit. Why? Well, after that, he became part of first fighter wing, became pilot of the Shah, became the first pilot of the Crown Prince, Cyrus Reza. And then he went to, and then I was being born. I was, my mom had me, but not born yet. And she has a talk with him and says, you got to get out of this fighter pilot business. Why don't you get into multi-engine, multi-pilots? I'm not going to raise this kid on my own. And that's probably why I'm here. Most of his people passed away. Most of his buddies from first fighter wing. Why? The planes were old. They were just grants. They were used. Some of the F-84s that have been opened and closed several times. Iran didn't have any money. It was $3 oil priced at the NIOC, National Iranian Oil Company. Before that, Anglo-Iranian Oil Company set, they were the British, now it's called BP, but part of a contract, because Qajar dynasty was so corrupt, Iran didn't have a right to even audit the books. So whatever they thought we deserve to get, they would write a check. And minuscule, like 25% of the profit, but they will compute how profits are.
And there's a great book on that. I believe all of Shah's man goes into the details about what the British did, and then when the Americans came and kind of took over from the British.
But you can read the Seven Sisters. You read Seven Sisters. There's a whole section on that. The problem was, of course, nobody had any control over it, and that led to the 53 coup d'etat with Mossadegh, against Mossadegh, because they nationalized the oil. And there were two guys from the first fighting wing that stood with the Shah. One of them was my dad. The other one is the one that executed, the new regime executed because of coup d'etat Noger from the Hamadan Air Base, okay, which I frequented many times. Anyhow, by the time I was born, I didn't know anything about fighter pilot. He was flying cargo, and the Shah, Imperial Hangar and C-130s. So I flew a lot, quite a bit with him as much as I could. Actually, my first picture with him in the airplane when I was 9 months old. I'm sitting in a second seat, a co-pilot of a C-47 Dakota. In the commercial war, it's called DC-3, was built in Santa Monica, Douglas Aircraft Company. Anyhow, so he comes up. They send him to SOS here, Squadron Officer School. That means potentially he's a high-ranking officer later on. He was going to go to this Maxwell Air Force Base. He was here for 6 months. He came back, and he became a squadron commander for the C-130s, and then became head of the MAC operations. He had something like 200 C-130s on his command. And then one of the flights, Shah tells him, I know your son, my brother, Corey, the smart one, the one who's got a patent to VPN. Look up, Fari Hamzei, EH. The VPN that we use for HTTPS to pay our bills, get connection on the cell phones. I'm talking about digital connection, not analog. So the smartphones, that's his work. Going up. So he had an eye injury. We had the Shah sent him to Children's Hospital and in London and Halas Hospital in Jerusalem. Could not fix it. One day, during one of his flights, says, I think it's right for you to go to I'm talking to Khatami, his brother-in-law, which was my dad's commander-in-chief, Air Force commander-in-chief, to go to Washington. My dad says, sir, I'm a pilot. You'll spend so much money on me. That's a desk job. Because I have other plans. Please do this, and this gives you a chance to be 3 to 4 years there and take your son to Walter Reed Army Medical Center. They have full insurance because of their government, as a military diplomat, and maybe there'll be an opening. Something happens. Something's better for it. That never happened. But, day later, he calls me in.
How old are you at this time?
I'm 12. I'm 12 and a half. He calls me in and he tells we had military conscripts who work in the houses of the higher officers in lieu of being in the bodyguard, okay, back at the areas where they keep the officers. And he calls me in, and I mean, he's knocking on the door. Colonel wants to see you. I knew there was something wrong. He usually doesn't do that. And we were not allowed to sit down without his permission. So I come in, and he's got his recordings of stuff, he has airplanes and books and all that. And I stand at the door. He goes, no, please, come on in. Bring us some tea. And I'm thinking, okay, things are a little bit worse now. Because when he always did that, I was like being put in for fighter squad. You know, these was a number 3 chess player at the Air Force. These guys look at several steps forward. I'm thinking, what is he thinking? And he goes, look at this. He gives me a piece of paper, and there's his name circled. It says, His Majesty just gave this to me. We're going to Washington. And what do you want to do? I said, I'll do what you tell me. He goes, okay, then we're going. So do you want to continue next year? This was like, like this time of year. You want to continue for next year for 9th grade? I said, no, if you allow me, please. I want to go to Tehran American Society. So I work on my verbal communication because I wasn't bilingual. You know, we had a British school, famous one, Fahad school, that changed the really grammar school program in all of the Middle East by introducing something simple. The school should have a library. You know, before Fahad school, the schools, did not have one libraries. And so we had 1 hour of library study per week. We had to show up. Anyhow, long story short, I said, no, I agree. Let me go through that. I want to work on this. Because I can read and write very well, but I want to be able to communicate, especially with American idioms and slang rather than British. And those were taught by the wives of the diplomats at the U.S. Embassy on Tackle Jamshid. So it was a good program. And then one day he comes in, he's got extras. Got to start, his rank went up. And he says, our flight is ready. And we're going to go. Next time I'm here.
Wow.
I mean,
Talk to us of a very interesting story about your dad's assistance in the Yom Kippur War that Israel had, where the Arab nation all put an embargo with oil, and they had difficulty with
but I got to go to this
energy.
one.
Yep.
You go this one, they can come back to see the impact was.
Yes.
If you think about it, what he did created OPEC. Because the oil went from 3 to 12. I'll get to that in a minute. So we come in, we land at the Dallas International. There are a couple of beautiful officers. One was a colonel, one was a one-star general waiting for us at the diplomatic terminal. Very different than the normal airport. Just one side, very posh. We come in and he signed me up for school. And I'm middle of the 10th grade. It's like February of 72. Early. First day of February, I think, 72. So I went and signed up for math and physics, and they were going forward. He got really busy. We would hardly see him. He was involved a lot. He reported to Zahidi, which was the son-in-law of the Shah, and big, very glamorous, outgoing person. His best buddy was Kissinger. So my dad got to know Dr. Kissinger at the embassies. I'm very lavish. I mean, everything. Champagne, caviar, you name it, would coming out of Iran. And so we got to see a lot of other also Air Force attachés from other countries. One of his best friends was the Russian one. Shah had said, be friendly with the Eastern Bloc. Don't piss them off. We have 1,000 miles now of a border. The other one was the Israeli Air Force guy, Air Force attaché. And he liked my mom kebabs. The first time he came over, oh man, once a week, every other week, my dad would say, I would say, Mom, Dad, what's going on with this guy? He goes, nothing. He likes your mom's kebab. Don't ask too many questions. That was a cover. They were doing some deals about F-14 or F-50, and some of the boxes, black boxes, will be updated at Haifa, which is a university area campus outside where Intel Core CPUs are designed. Intel has a big campus there. But most of the brain of the electronics industry in non-nuclear, of Israel is up there by Haifa. Anyhow, pull back a little bit. 67 war. Dad goes MIA. Comes back with a beard bigger than yours, but not as good looking as you in terms of looks. He was dirty. He smelled. My dad in his heyday, you've seen on pictures on Facebook. He looked like a model out of a Brooks Brothers. Now, I didn't even recognize this guy. He smelled. I said, Dad, what was going on? He goes, quiet. I want to get a shower, bring me some tea. We'll discuss later. That never happened. What was he doing? He was going from Iran to Turkey, Ankara, refuel, going to Cyprus. 2 in the morning, they would take off from Cyprus, fully fueled, no lights, no communication, Mossad navigator, 50 feet over the water. And everybody's calling him. Cairo is calling him. Damascus is calling him. Identify yourself. Nothing. They would come in 2 in the morning because he was a commander of the MAC operations. They would come in a bunch of these C-130s, but at 50 feet, they'd take off and land. But he was the first landing. On the first landing, who does he meet? General Rabin, which later on became prime minister and was executed. Or assassinated, I should say. Anyhow, fast forward. This is 76. Now, healthcare was non-lethal. Cots, medicine, water, doctors, nurses. Moved to 73. At 73, now we're doing competition for F-15 versus F-18. They should have going to pay for it. Or it's still $3. Now bring in the Air Force attaché from Israel. He calls my dad and he says, I have to show you something, but I can't read over the phone. Israeli embassy wasn't that too far from Iranian. My dad goes there. There's a telegram from General Rabin saying, Hamze, I need oil. Quick. He goes and sees the Zahidi. He said, let's go to the White House. They go see Kissinger and say, listen, we are committed, after checking with Iran, with not the regular government, but the Imperial Court, Dahor, which basically ran everything. They said, we're prepared to commit 3 tankers today into Haifa. Kissinger says, great, that's great. And Dad says, hold on. We want to buy those F-15s and F-14. Thank you, we don't pay for them. Well, we can adjust the price. What are you thinking? And he goes, well, we start with 12. And Kissinger chuckles on his coffee. But that's what happened. That day, the oil price went to 12, which created the biggest inflation in everybody's history. As a matter of fact, one of my professors several years later, exactly 4 years later, in 77, Charles Izavi, Oxford professor, moved to Princeton because the Shah actually gave him some money to open the Museum Studies, told me, he says, I was a Sadat and your king, but your king doesn't want to see me anymore because he doesn't like what I'm telling him. I'm telling him that this inflation is going to bring him down one day. 2 years before the revolution.
Wow.
Charles, okay, he just passed away. It was a graduate course. I remember I went to Princeton at 16. I was a sophomore. So by the time I'm 20, I'm taking 500 level courses. So I'm doing like MBA, like a master's program. Okay, in engineering though, not MBA. Anyhow, long story short, for my thesis, I wrote about that transaction because finally F-14 won over F-15 to fly off, and Shah was here, Khatami was here, Azerbaijan, and they decided with F-14. Why? Several years before in Iran, during the command post, there's a Fox 25 that flies over Iran, goes over Hamadan and turns back, taking pictures, and that happened to be in the early part of command post when you come in, and the Shah had come over because they were preparing for another event. And of course, Russian, they send the Fox 5, take pictures and come back at Mach 3. Nobody could get at 80,000 feet. Nobody could get, no missile, no aircraft, nothing. And Shah goes berserk, like, this is it, this got to stop. So why my dad constituted an F-14? Because of Phoenix missile. That was the only missile that could knock out the Fox 5. Move forward. Iran-Iraq war. I'm involved in a number of Facebook guys who flew there. They're a little bit younger than my dad. And the senior guys, the one who managed it, they were his level. Except he was here. We had to get him out. That's a different story. So long story short, they tell me if the F-14 was not by your dad, by Iran, but he managed all of that. Because he was the head of the spear in Washington. On this aircraft, Saddam would have been in Tehran.
If Saddam would have been in Tehran. And that's a close connection I have with this story. I remember being in first grade, and this is when Iran is in war with Iraq. Saddam is attacking, and he makes a decision to start attacking actually Tehran. His jets and missiles are coming to Tehran now. And I remember our first grade teacher, Miss Khorasani, I still remember her name. She told all of us to be calm in class. Like if the sirens go off, just be calm, and we'll all gather and we'll go to the bomb shelter. Halfway through the school, the sirens go off. Her face goes white. We're all standing up, cheering, having fun, not realizing what's really happening because we're happy we're getting out of school. And all of a sudden, there's like 1,500 kids running towards the bomb shelter, which is just an underground parking lot of this circular underground parking lot of a high-rise building. That's what's kind of the makeshift,
It wasn't really built as a bomb shelter.
No, it wasn't built as a bomb shelter. But that story, realizing the sacrifices, obviously a lot of Iranian young military men made, but also the weapons that they were using, particularly the jets, was as a result of what your dad had done. Otherwise, Saddam would have been in Tehran easily, and the Arab invaders would have been taken over.
That was part of what he had done. There were other orders that got canceled because Khomeini didn't understand these things. They didn't know what AVAX is going to do, what F-16s are going to do. And they were going to buy another 80 F-14s. F-14 was expensive. I understand that. And they also offered him $6 million bribe. Sit in a Swiss bank account outside of Iran. This is $73. Do you think I would be on the phone talking to you guys if he had taken the $6 million? Or anybody? I wouldn't even build a chain. I would just take that money and deal with it. If you turn at 4% of Morgan Stanley or Goldman, you know what that $6 million is worth today?
Just inflation alone. Like if you
no, but they will turn it. Those guys turn it faster. You can adjust that, right?
Yes.
You can adjust for what kind of risk I want.
No, I'm just saying relative the $6 million today. If you look at it as for today's dollars, that probably equals $60 million today. I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you turned it, you can eat it. You can't eat that income, right?
Yes.
So it's going to accumulate. So, no,
yes.
anyhow.
Yeah.
So that, and he said no. He said, I have a uniform on. It's French. I've sworn to protect the land and the air and the water of this country. As long as I have a French on, I'm not going to do anything with no. Now, people above him took money. People are at the same level of him took money. He had nothing to do with it. Yeah, and he came out of Iran.
Man of principle, a really proud, a patriotic, and a man of principle. He was. Yeah. No, that's
great. But we came from a family. All of a sudden, he's up there. He says on the break, "That's good enough," and we're here and all that. So no need to get into corrupt activities. And he actually, but I told him that like a year before, if the revolution is coming, be careful. This is not 53 anymore. It doesn't matter if you stood with the Shah. Back then, you and only one other guy stood with the Shah. I had Marguerite, which was killed in the Doge coup d'etat. And he goes, no, Fari, nothing is going to happen. A year later, he arrives here at the airport. He says, you were right, I was wrong. My apologies. I've never heard my dad apologize to anybody, much less to me. But at least he understood this was different. Mm-hmm. Okay. The first general they executed was his boss. Nader Janbani had a Acrojet. You probably know. They used to fly over Tehran. They were equivalent of like Blue Angels and so forth. So, or Thunderbirds. Long story short, by the time this section was being put together, I was looking for something to write in the Middle East. You have to write a thesis, and you start in your junior year. I'll look at things that was and they assign you an advisor. He kept on saying, Fari, the scope is too big. I was going to do overall FMS, foreign military sales of all the Middle East. What does this all mean? Are we really need this for war? Or this is to do what Eisenhower was saying, the last day of his presidency, saying, watch out for military-industrial complex. Because they're like mushrooms. They suck from you and take everything and all that. So as I'm writing this, they said, narrow, Fari. And they assigned another professor to me, Professor David, who I didn't know. He worked for DARPA also. Princeton does a lot of research, a lot of grants. Who other work was DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, people who did internet, people who did GPS. They all started at DARPA. Anyhow, unknown to me, he's advised to me because the airplane as an aerospace professor. I had also Bill Manand, bless his soul. He was the overall thesis advisor. Professor David looked at one of my chapters, had to the second compressor section of the TF-30 engine made by Pratt Whitney in Old Dominion, Connecticut. He reports that to his people at DARPA. He says, you see this kid? On open source, look what he's written. So there was a debate, should it get classified or not? If I said no, let it be. It's open source anyway. A copy of that went to Northrop. A copy went to Lockheed. A copy went to Boeing. I get a call from CTO of Northrop, Dr. Hicks, Don Hicks, graduate of Berkeley, in master's, undergrad, master's, and PhD, worked at the Lawrence Livermore Labs. And what's his specialty? Nuclear physics. What were they doing? They were building B-82 and B-84 thermonuclear weapons. Then he comes to Northrop, and he becomes a CTO, and then he becomes part of Defense Science Board. What do? There are 12 people. They program the football, the one with the president. They do the targeting. If you have a launch from SLBM, from a submarine, you have 8 minutes. You cannot do targeting. It's all pre-programmed. He's one of the 12 people who decides on those. He's in his 90s, 95, 96 now. I remember talking to him a few months ago in LA. He's retired, of course. Anyhow, he called me and said, I would like you to come for an interview. I said, when? I have to finish my thesis, sir. And he goes, well, there's an aircraft to pick you up tomorrow. You can ride on an airplane, don't worry. Mm-hmm. So they sent a plane to get me out of Princeton, put me to JFK, and a 747 nonstop. And I was writing. I was finished my thesis. And he told me, he says, you got to finish the thesis, you got to get your paperwork. I mean, your diploma. We can't take you in without those. I said, understand, serious. So that was the March. And the moment I graduated, I got a call from his office saying, when can you report? I said, sir, don't we get summer off? I mean, I would go through this thesis. It took me 16 months. Can I get a few months off? I said, no, you have 2 weeks. This offer is only good 2 weeks. Why? Well, we cannot discuss that right now. You got to come in here. I was there 1 day before 2 weeks. I went. I mean, they packed it, they brought it. I just flew there. They gave me temporary housing in a very nice hotel near work. And I started. The first problem was FAT. The problem was vertical stabilizers. What is it made? Carbon fiber. See the connection now? FAT was going to replace F-14. This has carbon fiber. Over titanium, they couldn't drill. My background, numerical approximations. So I wrote a program, all combination, not the AI, slab, I can't call it AI, but early part of looking at doing an event, observe the results. Change it, see the results. Then feed it to a bigger machine and say, give me the damn solution. Well, the solution came like, I don't know, about 2 months later. It took a while. I mean, and I had access to all the levels and all that, took the data and all that. And then one day there, out of the blue, they said, my boss said, there's a staff meeting downstairs. Change your shirt. I said, who's the occasion? He goes, the head of F-18 program, 3-star Navy Admiral, direct report to Reagan, wants to see what you've been telling us. I said, I don't have a presentation. I'm not ready for this guy. Why are you doing this to me? He goes, Fari, we're in a war zone here. We can't move the airplanes. There are 24 of them sitting behind each other assembly line. It was the longest assembly line in the history of the U.S. It's in the West Complex. It's where P-51 Mustang was built. Without that, we couldn't have hit Dresden. If you didn't hit Dresden during World War II, from Great Britain, you could have Hitler here. Dresden was all bearings and oil and all that. All the main items used for military operation was Dresden. If you look at pictures after Dresden, they were flat. Nothing bad. We know why? P-51 Mustangs were escorts. Long story. That building we bought later, many years later, is 1 mile long. So I walk in there, there's 24 ships sitting down. He said, now there's moving. We're paying $100,000 a day. Okay. In $1980. What were the interest rates? You're a smart real estate guy. What was the interest rate in at 1980? Paul Walker was, I'll give you a hint. Paul 19, Walker was the fetcher.
19%.
Bravo.
Funds and gutter recession.
Yes. So you have to realize, we're paying $100,000 a day. Plus, and then we have to eat the over budget. We have $195,000 behind. That means we got to eat that. They report in hours because you have different skill mix. Okay, so it's not dollars. Plus 100,000 per tail. So if we did nothing, each day we're losing 2.4 million at 18%. Okay, so they said, well, you've been saying this, and we kind of we're out of luck fight when you say you have a solution. Bring your stuff. So I changed, put a new shirt on. I had work for my stuff always in my drawers. Goes on down there, and this guy comes and is God, larger than life. He's a head of F-18 program, 3-star admiral. You know, he had a bunch of other admirals with him, junior level, you know, just as his butlers, you know, so far. He had a special box for communication, sitting there waiting. If that would ring, we had to all leave the room. Most likely it was a place encrypted back then. So he says, "You're the whiz kid? Where'd you go to school?" I said, "Somewhere in New Jersey." And he laughed. He said, "I've read all your stuff. I know where your dad is, all that. I'm going to make a deal with you. How much do you need to test this concept of yours?" I said, "Sir, I mean, I think I knew it was going to work, but I wasn't sure." I said, "Listen, 3 days." He turned around and says, "I'll give you 5 days. But if you F this up, I'm going to have you and your family shipped back to Iran. And you know I can do that. It's take a phone call to Reagan. My heart is just like doing this, okay? I just got my green card. I'm applying for citizenship. My dad is on asylum. He has a death warrant in Iran. Okay, he worked for Zahedi, part of the Shah, first part of the conference, and New Kissinger.
And helped out the Israelis too.
And helped the Israelis. Now, one more thing about the Israelis, that kebabs we're talking about. They made a deal one night, late when all the kids were asleep. And he told us, "Get out, Fari. I got to talk to him." They made a deal because Israeli lobby in Washington would not let us have Navy grade black boxes in F-14. So this guy turns around and says, "Colonel, get it. We'll update it for you. Just bring him to Israel." So that flew the next round of going to Israel. Then go to Sinai, went to Haifa. And they would be called, I mean, they would be actually painted. You know what painted means? There was a missile that's locking on you. They were painted by not Lebanese, what's the other one? Syrians. Because that's near, going to Haifa.
Fari, we can do a complete separate show on this whole thing. Let's transition into your, obviously, to say you're a brainiac with the stories you've shared is an understatement. Talk to us about the transition from your W-2 job as it's known as a director, at working at Northrop. From there into this world of trading, obviously you use your brain power to come to. What was your start into the world of trading?
I was almost there. Once I got the F-18 fixed,
yes,
I was a target. I had a target on my back because 1,000 people got fired. They were reporting wrong things. I solved the problem by digitizing the assembly. So I left. So I get a call and they said, "Come to B2, not B2, come for interview. But you have to bring your documentation and you have to meet some lawyers first." So I had to sign non-disclosure. That's lifetime. The guy I met was Moore Hesse, German descent, original chief designer of B2 bomber. And he wouldn't tell me what I'm going to do or why. And he said, "You're starting today." I said, "Sir, it was lunchtime." So no, they clean your office. They're bringing over. I've signed the papers. Okay, so we went there. First thing I was that they said, "Do you have any investment background?" I said, "No." So I said, "I would love to go to Stanford." Well, they said we'll pay. Well, not at Stanford. We can't pay for Harvard. Too far. We need you here. There's a reason you're here. So you got to be an executive program. That means you have to go at night. The closest school there was UCLA. UCLA, what does it do? I didn't know that unless I signed up. Number 2 derivative school. I went there within a year. I said, "What the hell am I doing this for? I want to do what I learned at UCLA. Options and futures." I was a student of Geske, as Slav was talking about. Geske is the one who win 87 crash. Dynamic hedging. A role that has a payoff curve for mortgages. If you have a mortgage you're paying off, he's getting a little piece of that. Because that's patented, that mortgage from Goldman. And then Whaley is the guy who did the BIX. I couldn't say no. These brains are gold mines. If you look at PBS, what do they say about Black-Scholes model? It's $1 trillion formula. It changed our lives. These are the guys who finished Black-Scholes. It's on my About button. If you go to our website, you can see that's what Slav did. Long story short, I was dying to get out of B2. Boy, I want to do this. So, and I've been also reprimanded before. I was running a little option trading operation from my desk for a bunch of VPs. And they found out that they couldn't do anything because they couldn't go against the VPs. I had a Black-Scholes model program in the HP 67 with a printer. I would do pricing. So I had Goldman call me, not Goldman, I'm sorry, Merrill Lynch on Torrance Boulevard. But Fari, I got a client for this. What do you think? We sell the overs and we buy the unders. Just arbitrage. Okay, and using derivative, but I was programming it. Anyhow, long story short,
At that time, are you working? Are you working and trading or no?
Yes.
You are.
I'm working at Nordstrom. I'm trading, but a few of my people, because of my notoriety, what I've done was these operation and material VPs. So, the one that would say, I gotta take a wife. I gotta take a wife. I was crazy. Like to Hawaii. I said, how much do you need? $5,000. Okay, we'll put a strategy for it. 2 weeks later, it makes $5,000. Back then. There you go. Cool. So, what they do for me? I do whatever I want. One of them used to order the executive dining room to make us breakfast. So my immediate boss came and he says, what the hell are you doing? I can't see even this guy. It took me a week or 2 weeks to get an appointment to see him. I got to go through secretaries. And he's here in the mornings at your office. I said, you want to tell him something? Go. You want to fire me? Fire me. But you got to answer him. And they would shut up. And I learned. Now, where did I get the money to trade that? My dad. We took little, some money saved here. We never took too long. I brought some gold coins out. We liquidated those, went to bought on the 1980, okay, 1980, March. Remember silver crash? We bought the Dow at 729.
I wasn't born yet, Fari.
There you go. The Dow was 729. And who helped me? Gil Caffrey. The guy with Tiger, not then, later on. Yeah, the head of Front, which is Big Short. It's in my book. It said, you read it when you get your copy. It says, buy America. And he hangs up. I call him back. There's noise, all that. This is a huge market crash. Move down, big volumes. Slab notes, that's the signal. You gotta buy this thing. Just like last October, 2 weeks ago. Monday, 2 weeks ago, when you get a move like that, you gotta buy it. I know it stinks, you hold your nose, close your eyes, you buy. So, but that, just like I did after March 23rd, when March 23rd of 2020, when COVID hit. Things were rough, but we had to do it. So, you get a couple of days, you're getting thrown off when it comes back up. Long story short, that's the hard way I learned how to buy stocks. How about equal dollars of like 8 names of Dow 30. You didn't have index back then, you didn't have futures, you didn't have nothing back then. And only few stocks had options. So the derivative world was relatively quiet. You had more on commodities than you had the stocks. So, so equities. Anyhow, 6 months later, my dad says, my boy is so smart. I said, Dad, our timing was good. And I got the clue from my classmate and because he used to follow NYC. I said, he's works for NYC. You mean he doesn't see the crash? And he was nice enough to take the call and he told me what to do. I didn't know anything. He goes, well, you better study better than that. That was the order from Dad. He couldn't say no. So I started reading books from the library, started reading. I started learning about Black-Scholes and programming. Why? My broker was trying to sell calls against my position. So I was long a stock, selling the calls. If it goes up there, win-win. They take the stock away, and at that price, and I already get money from them for selling it. And if they go to my price, they won't sell it. If it doesn't go to exactly that, I can sell it next month. It becomes income. Or if it kills it, goes through it, punches through, I get a long-term capital gain. Okay? So winner. But I got really intrigued what this is, this Black-Scholes model, which is a simple word. If you look at like YouTube discussions on that, it's $1 trillion formula. That's what PBS called it.
Fari, just one more before you get into the details there. Our audience is more obviously real estate focused, but we wanted to kind of bring you on. Why don't you break down, like most people, they understand buying a stock, selling a stock. They understand, investing in index funds, through mutual funds and ETFs. They heard about kind of day trading. Some of them might even trade here or there. But what has really been the impetus in this space is like the 99.com bubble where a lot of people came in. You also had recently with what happened with COVID and basically the trading that was.
Don't forget 2008.
Another one, yeah, exactly as well. But with the pandemic and the money swashing around and the lockdowns and the ease to the access for the markets through like free platforms like Robinhood, a lot of movements have come in. But those are kind of your everyday kind of retail type of traders. So people understand the trading space on some level, but then it gets more complex from there, right? We're talking about options, futures, margin trading. Why don't you break those 3 points for us, what they are, and like the mechanics
I'll
of
give you
it?
an example of options. We all have it. You have a car, you need insurance. Insurance provides a put option. You have a property. The bank says you gotta have insurance, fire insurance, that's a put option. So that if something happens to that event comes, and the price of that property hits the put level that you insured for, you have no loss. This is what you're gonna lose, but after that, the insurance company is gonna pay you. The only exception is if all insurance companies go bankrupt at the same time, then there's no way to pay you. But in the listed world, we've got listed stocks, listed futures and options, you deal with exchange. Exchanges in the US are controlled by Federal Reserve, and they're AAA credit rated, and they're SRO, self-regulating organization. But that means that they have to enforce certain rules. That means if the client is weak, they'll go bankrupt. Don't let them bankrupt the exchange, because that's a bigger problem, right? And the buffer is the brokerage, so they enforce these rules. But the very simple example of option is the put option. We all have it. I have it, you have it, he has it. Because we drive a car, we have to. And it's dumb not to have it even if your car is paid for. If you hit somebody who's gonna for that, right? So that's option. The other side is calls. Puts for move down, calls for up. For example, people are crazy about crypto. If you really think about it, crypto is like a call option. The problem is it's not as listed, it's not as structured. But when you go to an earning, okay, your earnings report coming up for, let's say, NVIDIA. A lot of my friends who are not that sophisticated, they went and bought NVIDIA altogether. Expensive. Shares are big. And you have volatility. The smart move is to buy what's called at the money or out of the money, one strike out of the money option. Now, what does it do? It reduces the money you put out, and you're betting that it goes over a certain price. Let's say NVIDIA traded today actually 3% down, 125, let's say whatever. You're still paying 125 for one share. You buy one contract that controls 100 shares. 100 shares with the cash would be 12,400, right? 124 times 100. But if you one contract, you maybe for a month of let's say November, okay? That may be trading at, I don't know, $10. That's only 10%. Now, why is that high? It's because NVIDIA is very volatile. But as a good example, that and Tesla, we have to be careful. But you're putting 10% of the money, 5% of the money, 8% of the money. Now, if it goes above a certain level, you have a right, not an obligation, right to exercise. And you get it, once it goes through that level, the stock goes above it, you can buy it. So it's called in the money. Once it gets in the money, it makes sense for you to exercise. If it doesn't, you let it expire. You don't touch it. You're not under obligation. Reverse can happen. I should mention that. You sell a car, or like insurance companies are selling you a put. You bought the put, they sold it to you. So they're obligated. Whoever sells is obligated. You can also do it on a call. So let's say my friend who's a crazy guy, he sold 260. Okay, it's a slap, you're gonna appreciate it. He sold 260 on Tesla when the stock was at 259. I'm saying he sold not the call put. He sold a put at 260 when the stock was 259. Okay?
Yeah. But
just happy. Oh, I got $8 on this. This is easy. Yeah. And for 2 weeks, what happened? 2 days later, stock's at 240. Then with 230. He's freaked out. I mean, totally freaked out. His girlfriend called him. He says, "What happened to him?" I said, "I don't know. I haven't seen him several days." And I called him. I said, "What's wrong with you?" "Barry, you told me not to sell that." "I did. And I didn't get out." I said, "You schmuck. The rule in this game is you can be wrong, but not too long. It's okay to be wrong, but you can't sit there, start crying, be a crybaby. You can't be, nagging about it. You're a human being. You're in charge. You're flying an aircraft. You need to land that properly."
Yeah. Let us run through. Fari, let's run through a few. We're kind of pressed for time here. We got 30 minutes and we got a lot of stuff to cover. So let's go to the next one here, if you want to.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll ask a few questions then, August. So essentially, start off with the ecosystem of the financial world, which we kind of separate into two segments, which is casual and retail traders that participate in the markets with the instruments we stated above, whether they trade stocks,
Right.
options, or futures, perhaps, and institutional investors.
Right.
We know that we have large hedge funds that utilize different types of strategies. Some of the big banks have trading floors, like we mentioned earlier, and so break this down for us and distinguish the retail and institutional traders and other participants in the marketplace, and how a retail trader that comes under your wing can get help from you, and how they gain an edge in this marketplace, because it's a very competitive market, as we all know.
True. First of all, you gotta be mentored either to a system that you're trading with, a website, or a person. Like I run a system here called Orb, opening range breakout Orb.
Right.
You were in the ES room and you saw what Thomas did. That's manual. Two different issues. As you grow bigger, you're going to use more systems, especially if you work for a major bank, because they won't allow you just go on your own, be a cowboy. No John Wayne. You can't do that. You got to have logic. You have to show your portfolio returns daily, mark to market daily. You got to show what your risk appetite locked. Not what my risk is. No, but you have instruments underneath to protect that move. Well, if you went to sleep, up $500,000 for this month, and you wake up and Putin, Trump's buddy, decides to go to Poland. That $500,000 was worth maybe 60,000 negative, all gone. So those are things that you got to involve. Usually they want 3,000 trades from you. You come in to apply for hedge funds now, they want 3,000 trades. They take the tickets from you or from your brokerage. They send to a third party to verify those trades actually happened. Then you have an interview. So that's a transition. In the old days, when I would work for Morgan Stanley prop division for 1 year, and a week I was just invited to at 85 Broad, which was the main trading operation of Goldman. Two key heavy-duty balls bracket, white shoe back. They were not trading customer money. Those I was in a prop division. That means it's a net worth of a company. It's a shareholder equity. You go to the balance sheet, it's a shareholder equity. Assets minus liability, we put that to work. On the Goldman, we had 21 different systems that traded the commodities, each for each asset.
Just to touch
So that's how it's built.
Just to touch base on these systems that you speak of as well, for the audience, these are automated systems? Are they just a bunch of algorithms that do calculations in the background that are the data they utilize to crunch the calculations are strictly based off of data that's generated by the marketplace itself, like through volume and price or sentiment?
Well, let me explain that.
Yeah,
it's a variety of things.
Yeah.
When you look with the system I work on, usually it's volume, price and volume.
Okay.
And then I have special indicators of zero lag, so they immediately trigger, and it's monitoring it. Goes to a rule-based code. My ORB is about 9,000 line of code.
Okay.
There's like about 15 subroutines. So total is 9,000 line code,
Right.
and it's a high level. So if something goes wrong, you trace it. You write it to a file, you go take a look. My org took, with the help of someone from PlayStation who was higher up, it took us about, by the time we perfected it, was about 10 months, 11 months. It started early, fast. It was functional first month, but you have to see different environments. The problem with most systems is they're not enough tested. They go to one market side, that's the upside only. They go with having NVIDIA. People who wrote the code early on and didn't have much experience. In November, I started working, they're bankrupt now.
Right.
So that would change. You have to go through flat markets, sideways, up market, down market.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one. Also, sometimes you have to tweak it for special asset. If something trades, for example, crypto, that's not different than trading something like JPL, Walking Financial, or Chase Manhattan.
Yeah.
The behavior is different. What we try to do is sometimes arbitrage it too. Like for my from what I learned over there at Morgan, because that was an incredible amount of money. I mean, just because of shareholder equity. Then it would also do raise the bond market. What we've done here recently is adapt this good system for a Nasdaq 100 and S&P to crude oil and treasuries. Now, which treasury? 30-year. Why? Because of how big that market is. You cannot move it. It's so big. So it's got depth.
Yeah.
And so, and then we arbitrate. We trade one long, one short. That is.
So
It's a lifetime. It's a lot of work.
Sorry, Ari, Fari, just to touch on something. So when you say depth of the market you choose to participate in, there's a lot of participants in these markets, such as the treasuries, of course, billions and billions of dollars.
Right.
And because of such large participation, the liquidity is super, super high, and it would take monumental amount of money to move the market in either direction.
Correct.
So it's less
Correct.
prone to overall money.
Or very bad news. Only say
Exactly.
bad news.
Yeah.
But that happens to everybody. Yeah. It's
Yes,
safe.
of course. Yeah. So
I mean, there was a comment from labor. This is key thing was yesterday. Okay,
Right.
in the news. That Department of Labor (BLS) is going to give a write down on the amount of new jobs created by by a million. Came out 800,000.
right.
Then the left and the right went fighting each other on the politics side about that.
Right.
Wait a second. BLS does it every year. As a matter of fact, this is interim. The final is done in January. That means people have no memory.
Yes.
Fewer students of these markets, especially treasuries. You can understand that what the non-farm payroll can do to you. Every year, every presidency, every right or left doesn't matter. BLS is a government agency that works for the Department of Labor. Every year about this time they give you an estimate. They finalize. Now that data was good. Why? Because of the error in the collection of the data, the surveys. Those are perfect. So these are things that think about to adjust.
Let us touch on another very important topic here. Like here at CPI, when we chat with retail investors or institutional investors that have invested with us, I mean, what we quote is how large institutions like university endowments, family offices, hedge funds, sovereign wealth funds, whenever they want to diversify their portfolio, a portion of it goes into private equity, particularly real estate private equity. So we're like, hey, just follow suit with them. So put a portion of your net worth within our product, which is, let's say, U.S. multifamily through these syndicated deals. Yes. When it comes to a well-diversified portfolio, having exposure to this type of this type of financial instrument or trading, what is the advice? What is the thesis there? As you guys both talked about, that some large banks actually have a trading desk and they actually exercise in options, futures, type of trading. Is this selected and reserved for the super sophisticated and your average day trader, or should this type of strategy be part of a well-diversified portfolio?
Well, there's an old rule at the CME. I used to teach, as you know, at CME and CBOE, the two larger exchanges in options and futures. CME, once you get inside the education department and your website shows up on a drop-down menu under education, will give you some guidelines from their experience. Remember, this is the largest future exchange in the country. Used to be 6 months. If the person survived the first 6 months, he probably is a good trader. Most people will blow up first month or second month. Like first 3 years, I made no money. Okay, that's why I have X5. I mean, I kept losing. And the problem was, she wouldn't let me take big chunk. The account was small. I would panic fast, and you let go. So we can't. Okay, just like poker. Now I start raising some money, then I start upping it, and I'm trading a lot better. I've learned now you can't panic. You have to be alert, but you have to enough firepower to hold your position as a buffer, but also add at the right time, double down, triple down as it changes. The key part, you have to have a very fancy indicator, zero lag, that immediately respond. You don't want to signal 2 weeks from now that says, "What should have done today?" We want zero lag. Okay, so that's one route you got to go. The key part now, they change that statistics. It's not 6 months. Maybe folks should write this down. 90, 90, 90. It says 90% of the time, 90% of the account is wiped out in 90 days. Now, what does it tell you? And why did I do my website, Hamze? Because of .com. At .com, I was writing code for measuring option. Activity on option, because you could predict the future using settlement difference. Stock sell in 3 days, options in 1 day. Used to be back in 5 days. Options are 1 day. But I would look at what the intensity of market makers, the flow of exchange, and then I had a sort that would tell me what the list was. Part of my book talks about that. Actual examples, with the communication with CNBC, with some of the hedge funds that shows exactly what I did. And they kept on telling me it's not going to work. It did. Just didn't know how to interpret the data. When you create that kind of data, problem is that there's no benchmark. So it takes a while for yourself even to put it together. But you could come up with the ways you get a little smarter. So, I mean, I was put on the map because of my dollar-weighted book value ratio. Nobody had done it. And I was on CNBC 3 years, almost every day. Not personally, but my data, it would say, or my voice. But it was this Hamze chart. Here's what he's saying. Costello used to get on the TV in the morning with the phones asking. And, you need to have some sort of edge.
Yeah, but
okay, option is very helpful.
Yeah.
Now,
so Fari, in this example, you use the dollar-weighted put-call ratio
right.
that you created, right? And that is as a sentiment indicator to
Correct.
forecast and participate in the market.
At extremes. Yes. When you're not extreme, let go. That's not a signal. But we got 500 names in there. Look at all S&P-500. Every day we give 3 or 4 signals. You go look at it, it goes gold. Somebody throw you gold. Take a look. This is going to happen. We've documented those. Where everybody would say, are you nuts? I had famous people at Wall Street, technical analysts, financial strategists, also the financial news services saying, Fari, this doesn't make sense. I said, you know what? I'm not here to create the news. That's your job. Go find it. The data says something different. Why? The smart money is on options. Now, why did I create what I want to finish with this part?
Go ahead.
What was that? I felt because of .com, and you brought that up, I'm going to refer to that. Because of what happened with .com, there was a joke. It wasn't 401k, it's 201k. My bill got wiped out. So my thesis was they're going to go up in leverage. They have to. They have to walk up the leverage ladder. Why? Because they have less money. But their income requirements have not changed. Because you have to take same amount of money with less amount of cash, you're going to go up. So I thought, boy, forget the stocks. Even though I had precaution. Go into options and go to futures. The future is going to happen. Well, that happened again, 2008. Happened again, 2020. Each time, the average guy is getting chopped up, each limb at a time. So now they're taking bigger risk. And that's both dangerous, but also for me as a service provider, of a IQ provider. For this, it's a huge market. Listen, half the U.S. population is in the stock market. Half of stock households. Through direct or indirect, through their pension plan, through their company, through 401k, or individual investing. My PMT, proactive market timing, is ranked, for 10 years, was ranked number 1 10 years.
This is your, people won't know what PMT is. So it's proactive market timing is one of Fari's products that he offers, which actually gives you signals to participate changes in the market.
If you have a portfolio, you want that.
So an average user that can use that, can that be? I just want to have my question answered.
Yeah.
Should this type of financial instrument and this type of investing be part of a well-diversified portfolio? You talking about some potential clients or investors? You have larger investors from Gulf states that are looking to invest with you, or I'm not sure if they have already.
They don't use the PMT. They do the futures system trading, but for a person with the average portfolio, let's say $500,000, $1 million for the retirement, they'd be stupid if they don't use it. You know what? We stay out of the market when things go ranked, or we go short when things go bad. We make money on each side. If you look at my chart from Time Digest, I was short going into the COVID March 23, March 2020, 23rd. Then we turned that night. And we said the week before. It's on our webinar space. It's on YouTube. We can't change the time stamp. Go there. We said we're within several days. You have to be ready to change your mind. I can. I said you have to. It's a mouse move. I'm doing the thinking. So that
investment group, Fari, just quick question.
On the way down, and we rotate around. So that's called timing.
Sure. Yes. Leaving that aside from it, I would still want to have this answered. If you have a family office that's got $100 million total value, what percentage of that money should be invested in this type of financial?
Essentially, actively managed futures.
Yes. I mean, you could do both. I mean, I always say the best strategy are both options and futures because they have different usage. But I would say, first of all, let's protect the nest egg, the big amount. That is the long position in the good stocks of America, investment grade. But for those, you need to time when the top is. Like Kiko yesterday said, I am closing my longs. People laugh. You see what happened today? It was one of the biggest drops today. Okay.
Yeah.
And it started good in the morning. Rotate. Now, what did you look at? Those some internals. You look at internals. To me, the story of a stock is not the price. It's its derivatives.
Okay.
It's their put call ratio. It's their volume breakouts. Things like that you look at. And also the Sigma channel. Because Sigma channel shows how in nature things repeat. Okay. So those if you monitor that, you get your timing. Now you can also do an ETF, which is a small version of the market. There's so big S&P, you can do SPY. Actually, he recommends on always on SPY. So first you have to protect the big guy, the big portfolio. Okay. I would say you need to hedge 50% of that. So if you have a $1 million portfolio, at least 500,000 should be hedged with some sort of put option, if not more. Okay.
Really?
Because
Wow. And that's being managed by a professional, like a fund manager like yourself?
No, these days you don't need to. Let's say you have Fidelity. But if you got a $500,000, $1 million account, you'd be stupid not looking at PMT. Because I'll save your ass when things go down. Part of my friend. Or and then I tell you when to get back in. That's add up. Plus, we add an option trade to it, which is what? It's the nuclear option. It makes it go. What's a rocket? It's a Saturn. So we combine the two. That's our most widely used.
Got it.
Low dominated.
We're going to bring you back, Fari. We're going to bring you back on and do another podcast on more of the kind of, again, the products and mechanics of it. Let's just run. We have 15 minutes. We have 14 minutes. Let's just run through a few things. Let's do a few predictions with you right now.
Okay.
Next meeting, Fed's meeting in September next month. What is your prediction?
Nothing.
Is the Fed, they're not going to decrease rates? So you're going against what the markets are saying 80%. You're going against that.
I haven't seen 80 as of what do you call it? As of
73%.
I don't know about today. As of yesterday, the best was 65%. According to CME.
Still, that's 65%. That's you're going completely against that. You're saying no change.
Against the grain.
Admiral Tico said it on his feed.
Okay.
No change
problem.
in
How about the next meeting? How about the next Fed meeting? How about
December,
next Fed meeting?
December 25 cents. Here's the problem. GDP is 2.8. And they don't. I lost your audio.
Yeah, no, keep going.
Okay. GDP, they're behind the 8 ball. GDP is 2.8. They don't want to make a mistake again because their name or blue. Their name is at risk. They're been behind, so they want to do reverse and go wrong again on the other side. You could make a mistake on shorting the lows of Monday.
Fair enough. How about the next meeting? We just got to run through a few of these questions.
I said March. No, I don't know past December. But December, I think 18 or it's my birthday, is another meeting. And that one, they're going to do lower. Yeah. But between too close to the election and data is still hot. We just begin data is getting slow.
Sure. Let's talk about election. Real estate guys, we love Trump. The reason for that is because of, the bonus depreciation.
You guys have the same
what have you.
No, you got to look at all the predictive models, all the majors. Look at Vegas. Look at England. Look at also IEM. He's in the toilet. That's people's money on it, right? He was like 82 to 10, 82 to 17. So that's a popular vote. It's not the electoral college. But if you get that ratio, by the way, last time wasn't this bad, and he lost.
Yes.
Okay.
This is a lot
prediction there. Let's keep going. You got a quick question before we get to the 10 championship rounds to financial freedom? Slav, you got a quick question?
No.
Any predictions?
Go ahead.
All right, we're going to do the next questions. We got 12 minutes here. This is a rapid fire series. We're going to ask you 10 questions.
I need some cover.
So okay, 10 championship rounds to financial freedom. So let's start with the first one. Question number 1. Who's been the most influential person in your life? I have a feeling I know the answer to that one.
Bill Caffrey.
Okay, I was going to say your dad, but all right. Give us a quickly why. Quickly, why? Why was he? Why was he the most influential?
He got me involved in this. I was still at Northrop making B2s or B21s.
Got it.
And then he was with me. He endorsed my book in 2006. He was with me in 2001. I remember seeing him one day. He had lost $3 billion. His face was whiter than this walls. Okay, I knew something was wrong, but he couldn't tell me. A month later, I read in the paper. I asked him. He goes, "Yes, but sorry, I couldn't tell you." Of course, they can, because they're a nation. These large hedge they're really a nation, and they own us. They own this world. They make what they call it, Wall Street. They make the famine. They make the wars. This is what these guys do. Get your success. It is
Yeah.
true.
Yes.
Okay, but,
Now, what?
Go ahead.
What's the best
Fari,
book I
what's
should
the,
read?
by the way, can you show the audience the book that you authored? Because I think you have it on your desk there.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
sure.
yes.
We're putting the
But
show
I'm
notes.
doing
We'll
it-
put in the show.
Put the-
another book a lot better than this.
There
You
it
guys
is.
see
Nice.
this?
We'll put the link. We'll
And
put the link.
also, I'll attach to that question.
I'm
I
doing a
wanna
better
ask-
book. Maybe you want to wait for that.
Yes.
Are you
I'll
ready
just
for
run
the
through this.
title?
I'll run through this.
So besides the book you're showing, obviously, what is another book that you could actually recommend to the audience that would more interested?
I'm working on that. It's called Blondes for Dummies.
No, but-
It's hold on. Okay, in our website, there's a suggested reading. Now, I don't want to sound like a professor, but by category. But I would say options, read Macmillan. Okay.
Okay.
If you want indicators, Tushar, it's there.
Tushar Chande?
Tushar Chande, bravo,
Yeah,
bravo, yeah.
yeah.
He gave me a lot of ideas, and I saw a gap in the market
Yes.
back in right after .com, right after 9/11, actually. And nobody was doing anything. It was a stress. That angle created my CI.
Okay.
That indicator has been solid constantly in lease spaces since January 2002.
Wow.
That's
Great.
22
Let's go.
years.
Let's go to the next question. Fari, if you had the opportunity to travel back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would have gone to Chicago earlier. I would go to Booth. That's the #1 derivative school. I would get a job as a runner, just a runner on the floor of CBOE and CME. This is, I go through life, complain to myself that you schmuck, why did you stay in LA? Today there was nothing for this. There's nothing on the West Coast because we're hours. Okay, and the IQ is in Chicago, muscle is in New York.
Got it.
That's big money. Here's the IQ. These are brainy guys in Chicago. Why? That's what they use leverage. They use the strategy. For example, long, short, or flat, 3 strategies. Either you're doing the stocks or you're doing futures. We go to options, there are 28 strategies. Look at that. I want it in my desk as a mouse pad for me to look at it. What does it look like? Okay, look at it. Okay, we're going to do this. So that's the difference, big difference. So I should have gone there. I was putzing around. I had some portfolio in real estate, and it was 93. Remember Charles Keating, Lincoln Savings? First, large of my portfolio were 10 dead. The real estate dropped to a toilet. I couldn't short it. I said, this is wrong. I need an asset that can be long and short. And we start slowly getting rid of the properties. Last property was sold in 2007.
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah, let's just keep going.
To me that I was stupid.
Next question. What's the best investment you've ever made?
I put $300 per customer on Google before earnings. It was October 2013, I believe. And I went by Sigma levels. I bought the 3 Sigma. And people said, Fari, you are a sucker. I said, I know. I'm only paying $300. And we do auto trade. You know, the auto trades are done auto trade.
Yeah.
You don't have to trade it yourself. It goes to the machine for the options. In Chicago, we have an interactive that executes that for us. Famous brokers. Every 300 that I paid in 12 minutes became 12,000.
Wow.
And the people on the other side had to settle. Remember, options are closed at 2 minutes after. I call that lottery trade. I bought it at, and there was a fight after that. I'll get it. 10 minutes to go. 2 minutes later, they report after the close. Because you have to lock. They have to lock options before they report. Google, you know what Google did? Google opened at that level and went up. 100.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I went to some meeting that afternoon. As I'm coming in, they're bowing. I said, what happened? How is you the aftermarket? I said, no, I was trying to come here. Barry, this position is going to be mega bucks tomorrow. I said, like what? Well, it says king calculator. I think 4,000. The other said, no shit, no bullshit. You know what you're doing. At least 8,000. It turned out to 12,000 change.
Wow. All right.
4,300. Now, what happened on the other side? It went bankrupt. The only side I got paid because I went to the exchange. But a lot of brokers on that side. They said, who is this sucker from Iran? Who's our immigrant? He's giving us free 300. We're going to keep it. Let's go and have a steaks. Next morning, they lost business.
Wow.
You know how many of these we sold through automated programming? Yeah. And then
Yeah.
next day, the issue was allocation.
We have 6 minutes. I got to run through 6 more questions. So we got a minute per question. What's the worst investment you've ever made and what lessons did you learn from it? It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be like. It can be philosophical too, if you want. You can answer it.
Doing the game stuff. GME. I was in NQ and ES. I made some money on the ES. I lost on the NQ. All at the same time within 4 or 5 hours. And also one more thing. I had the knock. You know what the knock is? Next unit of computing by Intel. The CPU melted like Chernobyl. The next day they have a new one from Intel.
Oh, wow.
They send me new one. FedEx. They said we want that back. You got a couple of days to send it to us. I said what? I said we want to know what happened. What do you mean burnt to? I said I don't know. I just opened it. There's a hole in your CPU because there was so much activity on that game stuff. GM.
Next question: how much would you need in the bank to retire today? What's your number?
I have no idea. But if I sell my company, I'll be retired for long. Tico will retire.
I'm thinking in our private conversations, you've talked about 300 million for your company, possibly, right?
Somewhere in that range, I would say 100 plus, depending on what time
100
you
plus.
get the market for it. If everything's heated up,
100 million is a good number. I think 100 million is a good number.
Point was sold to Morgan at 2006 October. Go to the chart. He sold at the top. Let's kill. I'm not kidding. I would like to say, if I retire 100 million plus, I'm happy.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. 100 million. That's a good number.
Because a million or two doesn't count anymore.
No problem. If you could have dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
Source. Never with Berkshire Hathaway guy. No. You know why? Simple. Number of trades that Warren Buffett has done is 1 day of trading for all his life. Is 1 day of trading for Source. Source decides. I also know his right-hand man, which is Gil Scaffery level. Gil was Tiger, which is Julian Robertson. The Stanley Druckenmiller, I have him on myself. He is the head guy for Source. As a matter of fact, I did an analysis for him in February of 2007. It was the biggest hit on our blog.
Let me run through these 3 more here quickly. If you weren't doing what you're doing today, which is great trading and managing your fund and what have you, what would you be doing now? Like, do you have any aspirations to do anything else in life? What would you be doing now if you weren't doing this right now?
There's nothing better than this. I'm in heaven. This is paradise.
Nice.
Remember, I get here. I was here at 6 this morning. I went to bed at 2, 1. I sleep 4 hours. But
Next question.
The energy gives us nothing.
Love it. Next question. Next question. I think you'll like this one. Book smarts or street smarts?
Street smarts. Definitely.
For an academic, for a guy who's been in multiple universities, you say street smarts?
Yeah, that's what I made this. I made this as a part of our emails of my own personal email, not the services and option per gallon that. But anything coming out of me personally is that we changed that. Because to say, I remember I got to this conclusion, but not now. I was in Chicago, I was doing OTF, he knows that, my volume profile. I did other time frame. I got to a point where I said I should open hours on 4th floor. Open the window, throw all the Princeton books out, all the Harvard stuff out, Stanford, for nothing. It is what you do there is important. And how did I learn that? Teaching on the floor, go and deal with these characters to learn from them. How they rotate. For example, what strategy was, they would buy 20 names of Russell names, Russell 2000, and sell the future against it. It's a mechanical thing. These guys making money.
All right.
No, because research all this time get nothing.
Last question for you, Fari. If you had $1 million in cash and you had to make one investment today, what would it be?
Just buy some CDs. It's not wrong time right now. We're too high up. You're assuming being long. If we were low, but we're going to get to, you're going to see sometime in September where people are going to give you money to take their stock away. I would buy SPY. Fully diversified, 500 names, and why? That's the 500 best horses in the country. Best management. That's what they're on the list. The list is changing. It's management, balance sheet, and products. Those 3 gives you the investment grade stock. All of it combines.
Last thing, please. Like I always said, this is going to be on podcast. So, how can people reach out to you and learn more about your services?
Go to our website
and products.
Go to our website. Yeah, or blog. We have on Twitter. You can follow that.
Spell it. Spell your website, please.
HAMZEI analytics. So Hotel Alpha Mike Zulu Echo India. Navy terms. Phonetic alphabet analytics. And you put an at in front of it. That's on Twitter. For the website, it's on the Microsoft Cloud. because our reach now is global, truly global. We have activity coming from every different country.
.com. Perfect. Got it. Thank you so much. Really appreciated your time and your wisdom. Really appreciate you sharing your background with us. We're gonna bring you on again because
we gotta get to the nitty gritty of
it
all.
No, we definitely do.
Really appreciate. There are probably some pieces here that created good, and then but there are some holes in it. We should do another one just to fill the holes. But you guys have to review it to find what the holes.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much.
Just give me a few days in advance notice. I'll be.
Sure. Thank you.
Sounds good, Fari.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. We hope this conversation enlightened you on how to win big in this highly profitable and risk-averse space. Get on your feet and embrace this world that offers so many opportunities just waiting for you out there. Continue your journey to becoming a savvy real estate expert by subscribing to the show at cpicapital.ca. Don't forget to leave a positive rating and share with your friends. See you on the next one.